everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I have never done this challenge before, but I've seen so many book YouTubers that I really like do it. So this year I really wanted to make sure that it made its way onto my content schedule for the year. I'm really excited to do it and talk about the books that I've read so far this year because there's been some really great ones and there's been some not so great ones. So we're going to talk about all of that today. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay. So the first question is best book that you've read so far in 2026. This is really easy for me to choose because I track my reading on my notes app, and how I track things is obviously by genre and type of book that I read, and then I make separate top 10 lists of genres. So I have like the 10 best mysteries I've read, the 10 best romance, that kind of thing throughout the year. And obviously things get moved and changed and switched around, but I also keep an overall best books list. And so far, there are only 4 books on that list for 2026. We're going to start with the books that I read digitally. And the first one is Are You Mad at Me by Meg Josephson. I listened to this on audiobook. It's a self-help book about people who are people pleasers and have anxiety and are just always worried about their relationships and the people that they interact with. I really loved this book. I felt very seen by it and I found it very helpful to me. This is the first self-help book that I've read where I genuinely feel like I got some good points and takeaways from it, and I ended up talking about this book extensively with my therapist, and she was like, girl, I gotta read this book. And I was like, yeah, you do. So for my people pleaser girlies out there, please check this out. This book is so awesome. And then I read the ebook of Project Hail Mary. I feel like everyone read this year, but I loved it. It was a 5 out of 5 stars, and so was the movie. The movie was very good. And then the other 2 books that have made my favorites list so far, I'm going to sound like a broken record because I'm going to be talking about these books a lot in this video. Number 1 is A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. This book literally made me sob my eyes out. It is the only book so far out of the 90-something books that I've read this year that has made me openly weep for like 15 minutes. This book is absolutely beautiful. I definitely recommend it to people. It is so perfect in every way. And the final book that made it on that list is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is a YA fantasy set in Wonderland, and it is an absolute emotional roller coaster. It is beautifully written. The characters are so perfect. The story is so cool, and it is so emotional and unexpected. It is one of those books that makes me realize why I love fantasy so much. I just love this book so much, and to all my fantasy readers, please go check this out. It's awesome. Okay, the next question is best sequel that you've read in 2026. I'm gonna be honest, I don't read a lot of series. Particularly this year, I have not read that many, or I've started a bunch of series and have not finished them. So I don't know that for sequel it means literally a second book. Because I haven't really done that, except if you count standalone series, which I don't really, because I feel like they're their own separate thing. So I'm just gonna go ahead with Stellar Loon by Shannon Messenger, which is the 9th book in the Keeper of the Lost City series. I'm reading this series because it is my friend Izzy's favorite book series of all time, and she's like, I have no one to talk about this book series with because no one else has read it, and I'm like, girl, I will read it and talk with you about it. So I have been reading it for the past like year and a half and have shared a lot of thoughts. I actually read Stellar Loon live with Izzy there so she could see all of my reactions, and we had a really long discussion about it after I finished it. But I really loved this. It was fast-paced. It was really exciting. The world building was really cool, and I love how we're 9 books in and you can still do really cool world building. I think that's really awesome. And obviously there was a lot of Sokeef, which is my favorite ship in this book, so I was fed with Sokeef content and I love to see it. So that would probably be my favorite sequel of the year so far. Okay, the next question is new release that you haven't read yet but you're waiting to, that's come out in 2026, and I know exactly what I'm picking for this. It is on my TBR shelf, and that is Yesteryear by Caro Clay Burke. Literally everyone and their mother has been talking about this book. It has been all over my social media on every single platform. There's also a movie coming out with Anne Hathaway, and I love Anne Hathaway. She's one of my favorite actresses. My mom recently read this. She got it for her birthday, and I was like, when you are done, you have to give it to me. I want to steal it from you. I will give it back, obviously, because it's her book. But yeah, this is probably my most anticipated TBR read right now. I really liked the book Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, and I feel like that's gonna have a similar vibe to this, where like the main character is super unlikable, and the book has similar themes about just like morality and things like that. So I'm so excited to read this. And I am so ready to finally share my thoughts with the world, because everyone has thoughts. But this is really the only one that I can think of. I don't really track new releases. I feel like that's bad. I have like a couple authors who I'm like, yes, I follow them on social media, so I see when they post. Oh, another one that I just remembered is The Divorce by Frida McFadden, because she's one of the authors that I follow, and she just posted about the divorce in the past couple of months or so. So I do want to read that one as well. I don't have a physical copy of it. But like I said, I'm not super like in the know with like when authors are releasing books. I kind of am just like, oh my god, this author released a new book, I'm gonna go buy it. Maybe that makes me a bad book YouTuber, but like I am not super well versed in the new releases realm. The next question is most anticipated releases for the second half of the year, and I have two great answers for this one. So I'm gonna grab a sample book because obviously they're both not out yet, but I'm really looking forward to Extracurricular by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is her most recent book before Extracurricular. She is my absolute favorite romance author of all time. I love her. I have been reading her since high school. I started with her YA books, which I own copies of all of her YA books and all of her adult books up to date. Her adult books are a little spicy for me, and they've gotten like collectively spicier with each read, but I still give them the benefit of the doubt because I love her. She's a great author. And one thing that I noticed with this one in particular is it has the marriage of convenience trope, which is not typically my favorite. Like, I'm not drawn towards books with that trope, but I was like, I'm just gonna read it and see what happens. And it ended up being a 4.25 star read for me. And I was like, wow, it kind of like changed my perspective on that trope. And so that's how I feel about Extracurricular, because I know it's gonna be really spicy, and some of the tropes in it are tropes that I don't normally go for. So I'm excited to like step out of my comfort zone and see if the same thing happens, where I kind of like find a new trope that I like, or find a new perspective on a trope that I thought I wouldn't like. And then the other one, hold on, let me put this back. And then the other one is, I'm gonna grab this as just my sample, is the short story collection Letters from Ketterdam by Lee Bardugo. As you all know, I am obsessed with the Grishaverse series. This whole series of a trilogy and two duologies means the absolute world to me. I've been reading it since high school, and I just love it. Obviously, I have 3 special editions, so clearly it's my favorite series. And so this collection of short stories is just so exciting for me that I get new content from this world. I'm so excited to read it, and fantasy is my favorite genre, so I'm really, really looking forward to that release. Okay, the next question is biggest disappointment, and I have 2 for this. The first is The Ministry of Time, which I have since unhauled. I wanted to read this so bad. It was on my 26 books to read in 2026 video, and I was like so hyped for it. And I went in and it was just like boring. It wasn't really what I expected. I didn't really like the characters or the storyline that much. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't the book for me, and that's okay. That is okay. Then the other disappointment was The Strength of the Few by James Islington. I loved The Will of the Many. I devoured that book. I was obsessed with it. I was so excited that I read it at the perfect time that the second book was coming out, so I was able to pick up the second book. But the second book was just such a letdown. It dragged way longer than the first one did. There was like not a lot of plot, and I was just very disappointed by it. So those would be my 2 biggest disappointments from the year, because those were books that I was really excited for that just missed the mark. All right, next up we have biggest surprise. And the way that I interpret this is like a book that I went in thinking either something different about it, or I went in thinking I wasn't really gonna like, and I ended up liking it. So first we have The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, which I'm not gonna grab down because it's up buried in my classics shelf, but it's there. I was so surprised by this. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was definitely expecting the plot to be a little bit different. So I was kind of pleasantly surprised because the plot was just very different from what I was expecting. But I really enjoyed it, and I think the ending was really interesting, and I would love to just like sit with a book club for like 2 hours and just talk about the ending. and I love books like that. And then the other two were books that I went in thinking I was going to rate them like 3 stars, and they ended up being 4-star reads for me, and that is The Berry Pickers. I really enjoyed this book a lot. And then the other one is Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. So I read Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone, which is right here. And I loved this book. I gave it a 5 stars. And I was looking into her other books because I was like, I really want to explore this author. And I spotted Ready or Not, and it said it had the accidental pregnancy trope in it. And I was like, I do not like that trope. But I was like, but I like this author, so let's give it a shot. And so I picked up the audiobook, and I was like, this is good. Like, I was very impressed by it. So I gave it a 4. Like, it wasn't as good as Promise Me Sunshine, but it was way better than what I was expecting, especially for having a trope that wasn't my favorite in it. So really good. Those were like my 3 kind of surprises from the year, but pleasantly surprised. The next question is favorite new author. I have 2 that I want to share. So the first one is my man, Frederick Bachman. I read this book, obviously, but then I also read Beartown on my Kobo. And both of these books were 5 stars for me. I want to read his entire backlog of books. Like, I just love them. They're really cool. And then the other one I would say is probably Cara Bastone. I read Promise Me Sunshine in October, so that definitely like was not this year. But I liked Ready or Not, and she has a new book that just released this year called No Matter What that I'd love to check out. So there's another new release that I haven't read that I want to. And I think she has a couple other books out as well, so I definitely want to explore more of her books and her writing because I love just how the relationships work in her book. Like, I feel like there's always so much healthy communication, and I love seeing that in romance books. So the 2 that I would say is Cara Bastone and Frederick Bachman. All right, next up we have Fictional Crush. This one is extremely easy for me, and that is Chris from The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez. And I have a kind of a weird reason, but I have always been a quality time words of Af girl. That has always been my love language ever since I was in like middle school. But I haven't really put much thought into acts of service until I started reading Abby Jimenez's books. Then I was like, whoa, do I like acts of service? Like, I was like, this is so interesting to me. So this book in particular is really big on the acts of service, but I'm also someone with a severe peanut allergy, lots of other food allergies, and I have really bad like food anxiety. Like, when we're eating out, I am so much like, please check the ingredients, please check the kitchen. And I always get really uncomfortable when I have to ask because I'm like, I feel like such a burden. But I'm so scared of having an allergic reaction in public that I'm very anxious all the time whenever I'm eating out or going like to get ice cream. I'm literally like so cautious and on edge the whole time. And if there's a food that even looks like I'm allergic to it, I'm like, I'm not eating that, even if I know it's safe but it just looks off. So I have a lot of food anxiety. And the main character in this book, Larissa, has a peanut allergy. And the way this man handles her peanut allergy, literally like marriage, like propose to me right now and I will say yes. Like, he checks her EpiPen and he always makes sure that it's working properly and that she has it on her. He calls ahead at restaurants and makes sure that there's stuff that she can have and that everything's in a dedicated kitchen space. At parties, he's literally like, okay, what's in this? Can I take this for her? Can she eat this? When he's with other people, he's like, you need to get rid of all of your peanuts. Like, nothing can come near her. He throws out the peanuts for her. Like, literally, this man is like the perfect person to date with a peanut allergy, and he is now my standard because I would have zero food anxiety if I was dating Chris. Like, I'm obsessed with him. I wish he was real. And then an honorable mention for this one is Thorn from The Great Outdoors. I really liked him. I love an outdoorsy guy. I love a granola boy. They're just my weakness. So Thorn makes it on the list specifically because of that. He's a hiking boy, but he's also just very like sensitive and empathetic, and he's really good at having deep conversations, which is also something that I look for in a partner. So those 2 men stole my heart this year. But especially Chris. Okay, the next question is favorite character of 2026. This is hard because I feel like I've read so many books and like a lot of the characters like are really similar. I would say two that definitely stuck with me were Amat from Beartown. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but I really loved his character, and I really resonated with him, and felt for him and was moved by him. The other one is Rocky from Project Hail Mary. I love him. I'm obsessed with him. And then I would also say Keith from Keeper of the Lost Cities, although that is a series that I've been reading for a year and a half, so it's hard to be like, this guy's my favorite, even though I didn't start reading those books this year. But I love Keith. He's probably my favorite in the series. Although I do have a lot of favorites in that series, but I think Keith is probably my favorite. Yeah, so those would be my favorite characters from the year so far. Alright, book that made me cry. We already know what it is, people. I've talked about it several times, and that is A Man Called O by Frederick Bachman. This is the only book this year that has made me, like, weep. I've teared up at a couple books, like Project Hail Mary made me tear up. Night Road by Kristen Hanna, which is not on my shelf. That one also made me tear up. Heartless made me tear up. So many. Too many. But, I would definitely say this one. I will put a picture up of me post reading this book. Yeah, it definitely messed me up, but it is so perfect. I love it. And this is why I want to read more Frederick Bachman, because I feel like all of his books are going to destroy me. Because Beartown, I also did tear up reading. So everyone go read this book right now. It is so good. Okay, the next question is a book that made you happy. So I have two answers for this one physical and one that I did on audio. For physical, I'm saying The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. This book is just funny. Like, the dialogue is so well written, and I found myself, like, actively laughing out loud reading it, which I have only really found in, like, Emily Henry books. So, and some Lynn Painter. So, the fact that I found a new author that can make that happen for me is really exciting. So I found this so funny, and I can't wait to read more of her books, and I hope that the dialogue is also kind of funny in that one. And then the other book is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This book just felt like a hug. Like, it was just so wholesome and sweet, and I truly loved this book from the moment I started it to the end. It was cozy, it was cute, it was so perfect. I was smiling the whole entire time reading it. It is beautiful and definitely worth the read. Okay, the next question is the prettiest book that you've bought or received this year. I would definitely say Heartless is up there. I'm a sucker for fantasy covers that look like this. They're very simplistic, but I think they're just so cool looking. Like, I know Dance of Thieves kind of has a similar, like, cover style. I really like this cover style. So that one is definitely up there. But for received, technically this was a Christmas gift, but we did the gift exchange in January. So I say it counts as a book that I received in 2026. And that is this beautiful copy of Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo from my roommate Ryan. She got me this copy of Crooked Kingdom last year, and this one is so beautiful. It has Inej on it. It is beautiful. It's got sprayed edges. I believe there's more artwork in the back. No, that's the other one. But this one has Inej on it, and I believe the Six of Crows cover has Kaz on it, and I really want to get that one too, so then I'll have this set of special editions and then another matching set of special editions. But this book is so beautiful, and I love it. I don't want to touch it. I feel very protective over my special editions because I want them in, like, pristine condition. I literally love it. It's so pretty. Then the second to last question is books that you still need to read this year. So I know I have 5 books left on my 26 books to read in 2026 video, or list, not video. And I am trying to see if I can remember them all. I know Great Expectations by Charles Dickens is on there. I know Jade City by Fonda Lee is on there. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. And The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. I believe those are the 5. but I could be wrong. And then I have about 10 books on my physical TBR left, but I'm just going to show you the ones that are most on my radar right now. So there's 4 that are definitely on my radar that I want to read this year. We have Possession by A.S. Byatt. The only reason I want to read this is because it has been on my TBR for 2 years, and I need to read it. It has been there for a hot minute. And then we have Jade City by Fonda Lee. I want to read this for many reasons. Yes, it is on my 26 books to read in 2026, but also I have just been meaning to read this series for a long time. I've heard amazing things, and it's fantasy, which is my favorite genre, so I have just been wanting to start this series for a little over like a year and a half, maybe 2 years now, so this is definitely on my radar. And then 2 books that my mom let me borrow from her that have both been on my radar because I've been hearing so much about them, and that is Yesteryear, as I said before, and also The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. I have heard so much about both of these books. I don't know if The Correspondent came out this year. Let me check, actually. I know Yesteryear came out this year. Okay, this came out last year. This came out in 2025, so it's still fairly recent. But I've been hearing a lot about this one too, so I asked my mom if I could borrow it. So I almost dropped Yesteryear. So these 2 are also on my radar for the rest of the year. Okay, the final question is favorite member of the book community. So I'm mainly on BookTube right now. I feel like Book Talk has not been popping up in my algorithm as much, so I've been watching a lot of BookTube. And there are 3 book YouTubers that are my ride or dies. Like, I know I'm going to be happy if I watch their content. First is Rachel Catherine. She's just so cozy, and I love the cozy vibes. And I love just like her TBR videos. I think they're really cool. And I love how she's very diverse in the books that she chooses to read. Like, she's not reading all of one genre. She kind of is very open-minded about trying different books, which I really like, and that's kind of how I am as a reader, and so I really gravitate towards her book videos. Then we have Just Allie. Just Allie has really creative videos, and I cannot talk today. Her book videos are so fun to watch, and I feel like they always put me in like the mood to read or do cozy hobbies, because she makes videos about cozy hobbies as well. So I always just love those. They're super motivating. And then lastly, we have Ashlyn Kaylee. I watch her for her positivity. She is probably one of the most positive people that I've ever had the pleasure of coming across on the internet. Her videos just bring me so much genuine joy, and she's also very open-minded about her reads as well. I follow her, and I also follow her husband, who reads a lot of like fiction books, horror books, historical fiction, fantasy, and she does book swaps a lot with him, and she finds that she really likes his genres as well. And so I love seeing how she's very like on the surface looks like she would be kind of like a romance girly, but she's very much like, no, I love gothic literature, I love Stephen King, like that kind of stuff. And so I really love her positivity for one thing, but also just how diverse her range is as a reader, because that's what I look for in content creators. Is I want someone who is not just going to be recommending one style of book to me. They're recommending so many options, because I love so many options. Granted, I am definitely a fantasy romance reader. Like, I tend to gravitate more towards those books, but I also read classics and sci-fi and nonfiction and historical fiction and mysteries and like a little bit of everything. So I love seeing content creators that recommend all kinds of books, and I feel like I get that with both Ashlyn and Rachel Catherine. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear your answers to the questions down below so we can talk about books, and while you're down there, you can check out my social medias. I post pretty frequently on my book Instagram, my TikTok page, and I think that's it. I don't really post on Goodreads or Fable, but if you want to check those out and see what I'm reading in real time, go right ahead. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!